Chapter 54-52. Even if I'm going to die, at least let me rest in peace. The second elder looked at Daehaeon with burning eyes. He couldn't understand why the child he had watched grow up, the child he had always been proud of, would do such a treacherous thing. Facing the second elder's gaze, Daehaeon felt even more ashamed. His eyes were slightly red, but he seemed to have something he couldn't say. Father, it's all my fault. Just pretend you never had a son like me. It's not worth being sad. Daehaeon's eyes overflowed with tears. He suddenly raised his head and looked at Dyujua. Master, this is all my fault, but my father really didn't know. Over the years he has done so many things for the family. Even if he didn't make any contributions, he still worked hard. No matter how you punish me, I hope you won't implicate my father. He really didn't do anything to let the family down. Daehaeon breathed heavily. He gritted his teeth and said every word. He forced the tears from the corners of his eyes to stop them from falling. This man who usually took care of everything showed such a miserable and painful look for the first time in front of everyone. His eyes were unprecedentedly heavy. It was as if there was a mountain that no one could understand pressing down on him, making it hard for him to breathe. But even in the end he still wanted to protect the only person he cared about. Facing Daehaeon like this, the second elder couldn't control his emotions. In his opinion, Daehaeon had always been a very filial child. He was very sensible and had never made him sad. Even when he was accused, Daehaeon didn't explain anything. But now he stood up for him. But it was because of this that the second elder was even sadder. I don't need you to speak for me, the second elder roared. If you don't want me to be sad, you shouldn't have done such a thing. In the next moment, the second elder turned and knelt down in front of Dyujua. Master, everything is my fault. I didn't educate Haoan well, so he took such a detour. I only have one son, Haoan. I beg you, let me take the punishment for him. You can kill me or cut me up, but can you drive him out of the family and let him live on account of what I've done for the family all these years? Dyujua looked at the second elder and Daehaeon in front of him. His expression was extremely complicated. Master, I beg you. The second elder's head hit the ground. Patriarch, please punish me. It really has nothing to do with my father. 2. Father. Daehaeon couldn't hold back his tears anymore. He never thought that his father would do this for him. I'm not worthy of you doing this for me. I'm not worthy. Daehaeon kowtowed. It's my fault. Let me take the blame. I beg you, don't do this. You'd rather let me die. Second elder, get up first. Dyujua couldn't stand it anymore. I believe you. You won't do anything that will harm the family's interests. Master, are you willing to let Haoan live? Chapter 54-53. Dyujua did not reply to the second elder's pleading gaze. He understood that the second elder was willing to sacrifice everything for his son. However, because of the spy, Beichen had to lead a wandering life for many years, and Yunqing almost died of depression. He could not forgive all of this. Even if he knew that the Jun family was the culprit, he still could not let the spy go. Second elder, you must know how serious the situation is. Get up first. At least we need to know why Haoan did this. Dyujua could not bear to see the second elder like this. All these years, the second elder had been doing his best for the Jun family. Jun Linyuan had always seen this. Among all the elders, the second elder's cultivation was not outstanding. This was because he put more energy into taking care of the Jun family's chores. These chores did not seem like much, but they consumed a lot of energy and time. The second elder had never complained. He did not want to believe that the second elder's son was a spy. Was a pity? Hearing Dyujua's words, the second elder's face turned pale. He knew that everything Dyujua said was true. This matter was indeed too serious. Even he had been thinking that if he could find the spy, he would definitely tear the spy into pieces to vent the hatred in his heart. However, he never thought that this person would actually be his own son. Master, you are right. The second elder nodded. His actions just now were too difficult for the master. Haoan, if you still care about our relationship as father and son, you should tell me the real reason. Otherwise, I can only die here with you. The wound on his forehead was a ghastly sight. Blood flowed down from the wound, contrasting with his pale face. It made one's heart tremble. Looking at the second elder like this, Daehaeon's face showed a trace of hesitation and struggle. If that's the case, then I will die as an apology. It's better than seeing my son die. Seeing that Daehaeon was still unwilling to speak, the second elder was also very desperate. He really didn't understand what kind of bewitching potion the Jun family gave Howen. Even now Howen was still so stubborn. After realizing that the second elder was prepared to die to atone for his sins, Daiheoan hurriedly shouted, "No. I'll talk. I'll say it." Hearing this, second elder stopped what he was doing and turned to look at Daiheoan. Almost everyone's eyes fell on Daiheoan. They were very curious. What kind of benefits did the Jun family promise Daiheoan? Diuju sighed as he looked at the second elder. He also understood that the second elder wanted to use this method to force Daiheoan to reveal everything. "Daiheoan, speak," Diuju said coldly. Daiheoan was silent for a moment. He looked deeply at the second elder. A touch of deep pain appeared on his face. His black eyes were full of sorrow. His deep voice was full of helplessness. "Actually, I am not the second elder's son." It seemed that Daiheoan used up all his strength to say this sentence. The moment he said it, he seemed to have lost his last trace of strength. He slumped to the ground as if he had lost all his vitality. Chapter 54-54. After hearing the news, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This was really too shocking. She had thought that maybe Daiheoan was coveting the position of the head of the family, but because he was good at hiding, no one had found out. Maybe the second elder was also a spy, and his daily efforts for the family were all just a disguise. However, she had never thought that Daiheoan wasn't a member of the D family. This news. It simply subverted her understanding. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, but almost everyone present had the same expression. Daiheoan had been growing up in the D family all these years. How could he not be a member of the D family? Diujue and the other elders looked at the painful and desperate face at the moment, and didn't know what to say for a moment. This news made them speechless. The second elder opened his eyes wide, and his voice couldn't help but tremble. He said angrily, "Daiheoan, what nonsense are you talking about? For so many years I raised you with my own hands. How could you not be my son?" Looking at the familiar face, Daiheoan couldn't help but cry. "I also wish I was really your son." Daiheoan's eyes were red and he couldn't help but cry. "Do you know how painful it was for me to watch you teach me and care for me all these years? I wish you didn't treat me so well. You're so old and your health is not good, but you still leave all the good things to me. Do you know how much I hate myself every time I hear you say that it's enough as long as I see you well? I hate that I'm not your son. I hate that I'm incompetent, I hate that I'm useless, I hate that I can't be hard-hearted. But I don't have a choice." Daiheoan slammed his hands on the ground. Blood mixed with the mud stood on his broken hands, but he didn't feel any pain at all. Because the struggle and pain in his heart were far more painful than the pain in his hands. All these years he had been surrounded by this kind of guilt and self-blame. In the dead of the night it made him want to go crazy. Even though he had been discovered, he didn't feel too bad about it. Perhaps this was a form of release for him, allowing him to stop struggling and suffering like this. For so many years, the thing he couldn't face the most was saying such words to his father. Looking at Daiheoan's painful struggle and even hysterical appearance, the second elder stood there in a daze. Even if he still couldn't understand why this happened, he already knew that Daiheoan really wasn't his child. If that wasn't the case, Daiheoan wouldn't have said such words. "If you are not my son, then where is my son?" The second elder stared at Daiheoan, his reddened eyes filled with nervousness and despair. At this moment, everyone felt extremely conflicted. In fact, there was no need to ask such a question. Everyone had already guessed the answer. It was just that the second elder wasn't willing to give up that slim chance of survival. Daiheoan only looked at the second elder with a complicated expression and didn't say anything. Chapter 54-55. How could this be? The second elder was like a puppet that had lost its soul. He muttered to himself as tears flowed out uncontrollably. This was the first time that the usually smiling second elder had shown such a vulnerable and pained expression in front of everyone. How could this be? His wife had died during childbirth, leaving behind her only child. Since then he had placed all his hopes on Daiheoan. However, he had never thought that the child he had raised was not his own son. How could he accept this? Second elder. Looking at the second elder's bloodshot eyes, the first elder hurried to his side and said anxiously with concern, "Second elder, you must hold on." At this moment, no one doubted that the second elder was a spy. On the contrary, he was probably the one who had been hurt the most in this entire matter. Although Di Baichen had been wandering outside for years, at least he had returned safely. However, the second elder's child was not so lucky. It turned out that all of this had been arranged by the Jun family. No wonder Daiheon had done this. He was not a member of the D family. The Jun family is too hateful. They even dared to do such a thing. The great elder's face was full of anger. The pain of losing a child could not be expressed in words. Even if this had not happened to him, he still found it difficult to accept, let alone the second elder. The Jun family is worse than beasts. D. Baichen's eyes were as cold as ice. This is indeed a trap that no one would have thought of. Not only did they lay their hands on our family's child, but they also used their own family's child. They are truly despicable. If I don't completely eradicate the Jun family, then I am not Dyujua, Dyujua suddenly said. His cold words exuded an endless murderous aura. A terrible pressure was released, and his handsome face was frighteningly gloomy. Over the years the Jun family had schemed against them for too long. Even if the two sides often met with weapons, he never thought that the Jun family's methods would be so despicable that they would even use a child. He didn't care about other things, but he couldn't ignore this kind of thing. If Baichen had not been lucky enough to meet Situ Yen, he would have lost his life as well. Since the Jun family had already gone this far, wouldn't he be a coward if he didn't teach the Jun family a lesson? Looking at the murderous look on Dyujua's face, the D family also shared a common enemy. If such an opponent was not eliminated as soon as possible, no one knew what would happen in the future. When Daiheon saw that the second elder was on the verge of breaking down, he felt a wave of pain in his heart. He didn't want to say anything because he didn't want to see the second elder in such pain. Even if he died, perhaps the second elder would not feel so bad. Sometimes it was not a bad thing to be kept in the dark. Father, you must take care of yourself. Don't call me father. The second elder's bloodshot eyes were filled with hatred. He had actually raised the child of his enemy for so many years. When he thought of his own son, he felt that he was not even worthy of death. If he couldn't avenge his son, then how could he face the child and his mother in the afterlife? Chapter 54-56. The Jun family has indeed gone too far. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. She didn't know what to say in the face of such a situation. Daiheon's actions had undoubtedly touched her, but she couldn't bring herself to criticize him. Daiheon had indeed gone too far, but in reality he was also a pitiful guy. He was placed in the D family at such a young age, and faced with the second elder's kindness over the years, he must have been struggling in his heart. She could see that Daiheon really cared about the second elder. For more than 20 years, he had been living under the care and concern of the second elder. That fatherly love was not fake. Fortunately, at least he still had a conscience and didn't want to hurt the second elder. Unfortunately, this reality was far too cruel for the second elder, and no one would be able to accept it. Head elder helped the second elder back to rest, Dyujua said. No, I also want to know what is going on. The second elder refused immediately. If he didn't know what was going on, he wouldn't be able to feel at ease. However, after Dyujua looked at Daiheon's situation, he said, Second elder, if you stay here, he won't be able to answer. Don't worry, we will tell you the whole story after we get the answers. You should rest well. Anger will harm your body. You have to live well and wait for us to avenge the real Daiheon. Hearing this, the second elder looked at Dyujua's determined and serious expression, and nodded, okay. After the head elder helped the second elder leave, Bailey Hongzhuang sent someone to inform Wu Weiming. The second elder had suffered such a huge blow, and it was inevitable that something would happen. It was better to let Wu Weiming take a look. Dyujua didn't interrogate Daiheon in front of everyone. Instead, he sent someone to take Daiheon to the meeting hall. He wanted to figure out how the Jun family had set up such a trap. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also planned to go to the Jun residence today. However, they didn't expect to be involved in such a big matter. They still had to figure out everything before setting off. Ling Xiao, I finally understand now. This Jun family is simply insane. Previously, I thought that Ao Jun Kwang's actions were too incomprehensible, but thinking about the Jun family's scheme, I felt that everything was understandable. The Jun family was most likely the one who came up with this idea. When Xiren was secretly speechless. These people from the Jun family must have a dark heart to do such a thing. These were things that were completely unacceptable to them. However, for the Jun family, it was nothing out of the ordinary. Ao Ling Xiao's expression darkened. In fact, when Daiheon spoke earlier, he felt the same way as the second elder. Because, when he was threatened and put on such a big hat, he was also shocked and in disbelief. He saw with his own eyes that his own elder brother had killed his parents, and then framed it all on his own head. That kind of pain was simply indescribable. The scene just now made him feel as if he had returned to the beginning. That kind of feeling was so oppressive that it almost made him collapse. Chapter 54-57. Mo Yunjua didn't know how long he would stay in the D family, but he knew that Hong Zhuang would always be there. He didn't want Hong Zhuang to be in this kind of trap in the future. This kind of person must be completely eliminated. Only by completely eliminating the Jun family could they be at ease. After being discovered, Dai Haoan didn't plan to hide it anymore. In fact, facing the elders in front of him, he was also full of guilt. These elders had always taken care of him when he was growing up and treated him like family. In fact, all these years he had thought that he might as well treat himself as the real Di Haoan. This was because compared to what the Di family had done to him, the Jun family was clearly his family. However, they had never made him feel as warm as the Di family. He had also thought of leaving, but in the end, he was still greedy for the warmth here. After understanding everything, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh. It turned out that when the second elder's wife was giving birth, the Jun family had already bribed the midwife and swapped the two children. Daheoan was the son of the fourth elder of the Jun family. However, his mother's status was low and wasn't valued. Therefore he was planted as a spy in the Di family. When the Jun family first contacted Daheoan, he didn't believe it at all. However, when he saw his mother and noticed the face that was extremely similar to his own, he finally understood. Everything he had didn't belong to him at all, but to someone else. At that time he was very conflicted and didn't want to do anything. However, his mother was controlled by the Jun family. If he didn't do as the Jun family ordered, his mother's life would be in danger. He couldn't just watch the woman who had watched him cry silently die. Therefore he could only choose to accept everything. However, the process still made him feel extremely painful. In the dead of night he also broke down, but he had to grit his teeth and persevere. Junhong Qing is really cruel. That fourth elder is also a good for nothing. He even used his own son. The seventh elder couldn't help but curse out loud. Just listening to this kind of thing was already unbearable for him. How could the Jun family do something like this? The Jun family has been suppressed by our family for many years. They must have been unable to think of a way to deal with us. That's why they've done something worse than a beast. However, I have to say that we really weren't prepared for this. The eighth elder shook his head and sighed. If the young lord didn't come back this time, once the position of young lord was handed over to Haoan, wouldn't it mean that we would have to surrender the family to someone else? As the eighth elder's voice fell, everyone present broke out in a cold sweat. Indeed, the Jun family scheme had almost succeeded. This was simply taking everything from the Di family without using a single soldier. Everyone couldn't help but look at Di Baichen. They were really lucky. Otherwise they would have been finished. Father, since we already know everything, let's go to the AO family. Di Baichen's face was serious and serious. The Jun family was so despicable. They must be taught a lesson. Since the Jun family had already ambushed them in the AO family, they would go there and see who was more skilled. Chapter 54-58. A trace of viciousness appeared in Di Yujua's eyes. Junhong Qing almost caused him to lose his family. He would make Junhong Qing pay back this debt 1,000 times over. Almost everyone could feel Di Yujua's surging killing intent. All these years, the Di family had never directly confronted the Jun family because they had many scruples. One of the most important reasons was that the Di family's inheritance still needed the Jun family's token. But now the Jun family's actions were getting more and more excessive. They could not tolerate it anymore. At the very least, they had to collect the interest first. Not only Di Yujue but everyone present was filled with anger at this moment. If they did not make the Jun family pay the price, the anger in their hearts would not be quelled. Di Baichen nodded slightly. He also understood that his father had made up his mind to take this opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the Jun family. Even if the two sides would inevitably suffer great losses, his father still decided to make a move. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were teleported to the vicinity of the AO family, they were keenly aware that someone was staring at them. However, everyone pretended to be unaware and walked forward. AO Lingxiao looked at everything in front of him that was both familiar and strange. His expression was extremely complicated. In the beginning, everything here felt familiar and close to him. Now that he was back here again, he was afraid of returning home. Thinking about what would happen later, he could not help but worry. If the people in the family did not believe him, then what should he do? After all, so many years had passed. AO Zhengquang must have already bought the people's hearts. It would not be easy to salvage everything. Everyone also noticed Ao Lingxiao's nervous expression. They could not help but comfort him. Lingxiao, don't worry too much. We are still here. You only need to say what is in your heart. I believe that the people in your family will understand. Who is right and who is wrong, they will have a conclusion in their hearts. Di Beichen said slowly. His eyes were full of trust. Lingxiao, when you became the young master of the family, I believe that even if you were crowned with such a title, many people in the Ao family still had doubts in their hearts. It was just that things happened so suddenly that they didn't have time to think about it. If you go back now, the situation might be different. Bailey Hongzhuang looked serious. After experiencing Daiheoan's incident, she understood that people actually valued relationships. Even though Daiheoan's case had such a great impact on the Di family and could be said to be an unforgivable evil existence, after understanding Daiheoan's suffering, they couldn't help but feel compassion for him. Even to an outsider, Ao Lingxiao was a member of the Ao clan. Those elders who watched Ao Lingxiao grow up would definitely be moved too. Thank you. Ao Lingxiao's lips curled into a smile. I know you're all worried about me. Since I've come here, I'm prepared to fight with my back to the river. Even if the clansmen don't believe me, I will accept it. But at least I can't let the Ao clan fall into Ao Zhengquang's hands. Even if I have to drag him down to hell with me, I am willing. There were so many elders in the family who were wholeheartedly for the good of the family. Even if they all fell together, the Ao clan would still be passed on. At least, it was much better than the Ao clan being annexed by the Jun family. Chapter 54-59. Seeing that Ao Lingxiao was prepared, Di Beichen and the others looked at each other. Although they didn't think that the situation would be that bad, since Ao Lingxiao had thought of the worst-case scenario, it might not be a bad thing. Lingxiao, the situation won't be that bad. Ao Zhengquang will definitely go to hell, but you won't. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a confident and sunny smile. She believed that the elders of the Ao family couldn't be so blind. That's right. Di Beichen nodded with a smile. No matter how bad the situation is, it won't be a problem to protect you. Under Ao Lingxiao's lead, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others approached the Ao clan. When they arrived at the entrance of the Ao clan, they stopped. Ao Lingxiao was obviously very familiar with the way in. He didn't need to report anything and directly opened the camouflage in front of him. I didn't expect that after so many years, this place hasn't changed at all. Seeing that the camouflage was opened so easily, Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but sigh. The Ao clan was like this in the past. Although the way in hadn't changed, everything had changed. The others didn't find this strange. Usually, a clan's array was very difficult to set up. If it wasn't necessary, the clan wouldn't easily change it. Moreover, Ao Lingxiao was forced to leave the clan alone. The Ao clan didn't need to be afraid and naturally didn't need to change it. As the group walked into the territory of the Ao clan, the cultivators of the Ao clan immediately noticed their appearance. In fact, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived, they found that Ao Zhengquang and the cultivators of the Ao clan were already prepared and waiting for them. Looking around, almost all the cultivators of the Ao clan were gathered here. Just the lineup alone was very shocking. Ao Lingxiao, you really have the guts to come back. Seeing that Ao Lingxiao appeared, Ao Zhengquang's eyes flashed a trace of a proud smile. He was relieved. Previously, he heard from Jun Lingshuan that Ao Lingxiao and the others would definitely come today. He was originally worried that the news might be wrong, but now it seemed that he was overly worried. He didn't expect everything to be so accurate. Ao Lingxiao and the others really arrived today. When the people of the Ao clan saw Ao Lingxiao, their faces were filled with shock and confusion. Ever since Ao Lingxiao disappeared, they thought they would never see him again. It wasn't until the Immortal Cloud Secret Realm that they heard the news of Ao Lingxiao's return. However, they didn't expect that Ao Lingxiao would return again. This traitor actually has the guts to come back. He should have died a long time ago for doing something worse than a beast. Old Master and Madam treated him so well, but I didn't expect him to be so greedy. Just thinking about it makes my hair stand on end. This time he brought the Di family with him. Could it be that he wants to take back the position of the head of the family? The disciples of the Ao clan all looked at Ao Lingxiao with cold gazes. Originally they were filled with respect for Ao Lingxiao, but now they only felt that this fellow was too despicable and detestable to the extreme. A trace of sadness flashed in Ao Lingxiao's eyes as he listened to everyone's misunderstanding and criticism. Back then, when he was forced to leave his family, he was in a similar situation. Chapter 54-60. Ao Zhengquang's eyes were cold, and his tone was full of righteousness. I will personally execute you, you bastard, to comfort my parents in heaven. Looking at Ao Zhengquang's fake righteousness, Ao Lingxiao's eyebrows were full of ridicule and disgust. Ao Zhengquang, at that time, you relied on your own good acting ability to deceive everyone. Let me have no way to defend myself. This time, I won't let you pour dirty water on my head like before. Hearing this, Ao Zhengquang sneered, it's been so long. Everyone saw everything clearly. Don't you think it's ridiculous for you to quibble now? Then Ao Zhengquang looked at the elders behind him, asked the elders, do you think anyone will believe you? Ao Lingxiao's gaze turned to the elders. These elders were all very familiar to him. At that time these elders watched him grow up. Once, the elders looked at him with eyes full of love and kindness, but now there was only strangeness and pain. When the various elders saw Ao Lingxiao again, their feelings were also complicated to the extreme. Lingxiao, I really didn't expect you to do such a thing. The first elder shook his head and sighed. When he first heard the news he couldn't believe it either. He had been watching Ao Lingxiao grow up. He had seen all his performance over the years. He had always thought that Ao Lingxiao was honest, but he had never thought that his heart was so terrible. The old master was so good to you. No matter what you wanted, as long as you said it, the old master would find a way to satisfy you. However, you used such a method. Alas. Second elder also had a pained expression on his face. Originally their clan was so harmonious. However, such a situation happened which was really beyond all their expectations. If it wasn't for such a big thing, the family wouldn't have become like this. What's the point of talking nonsense with such a guy? It's just a waste of our feelings. The third elder's eyes were full of disgust and hatred. He hated that he couldn't kill Ao Lingxiao directly. Listening to the elders who used to love him so much, Ao Lingxiao's mood couldn't help but become agitated. First elder, it's not like this at all. I was wronged. Wronged? The first elder frowned. However, Ao Zhengquang didn't give Ao Lingxiao a chance to explain. He immediately shouted, men, arrest Ao Lingxiao and punish him according to the family rules. As soon as the words came out, the cultivators of the Ao family immediately stood up, not giving Ao Lingxiao a chance to escape. Seeing that the crowd wanted to arrest Ao Lingxiao, Di Beichen and the others stepped forward and blocked Ao Lingxiao's side. Their meaning was obvious. They wouldn't let anyone who dared to touch Ao Lingxiao. The guards of the Ao clan who were about to forcefully grab Ao Lingxiao also stopped. They didn't know what to do for a while. Let's not care about them, take Ao Lingxiao. Ao Zhengquang did not care about this. He had already fallen out with the Di family, and he was relying on the Jun family. As for his relationship with the family, he didn't care. Plus he had enough trump cards. There was nothing to be afraid of. Chapter 54-61. Seeing Ao Zhengquang's actions, Ao Lingxiao's gaze became even colder. He knew very well that Ao Zhengquang didn't want to give him any chance to explain himself. However, he wouldn't let Ao Zhengquang have his way. Elders, since I'm here, even if you want to catch me, you don't have to be in a hurry. Before that, can you listen to my explanation? Ao Lingxiao looked at the elders earnestly. He didn't care about Ao Zhengquang at all. What he cared about was the opinions of his family members. Hearing this, the elders looked at each other. The great elder said in a deep voice, since you want to explain, I'll give you a chance. Everything had happened so suddenly that they didn't even have time to think about it. However, the result had been too shocking. Coupled with Ao Lingxiao's nervous and wooden expression, no one doubted it in the slightest. Even if everyone had already determined the result, since Ao Lingxiao took the initiative to return to the family and asked for a chance to explain, they naturally wouldn't refuse. Compared to everyone's calmness, Ao Zhengquang couldn't help but show a trace of anxiety. He didn't want to give Ao Lingxiao any chance to explain. If Ao Lingxiao took advantage of this opportunity to turn things around, it would be the worst. However, until now he hadn't seen Jun Lingxuan and the others come. He couldn't help but feel anxious. Logically speaking, Jun Lingxuan should have known that Di Beichen and the others had arrived. Why hadn't they appeared yet? Now that things had come to this point, he didn't want any more unforeseen events to occur. Thinking of this, Ao Zhengquang immediately winked at the third elder. The third elder immediately understood and his cold voice rang out. Great elder, why listen to his explanation? He couldn't explain at the beginning. Now that so much time has passed, even if it's a lie, it's already smooth. What's the point of listening? Following the third elder's words, many of the elders who had been bribed by Ao Zhengquang also agreed. Yes, it's meaningless to listen to this now. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but say, I'm afraid these guys have been bribed by Ao Zhengquang. It's good to see them stand out one by one now. Remember who they are. When the time comes, these guys can't be put in important positions. Di Beichen's eyes were calm, and his expression was extremely relaxed. Ao Zhengquang has been the patriarch for so many years, there must be someone who is dead set on following him. The Jun family wouldn't have chosen to support him if he didn't have the means to do so. After Di Beichen's voice fell, the originally tense situation inexplicably felt a little funny. So, was this considered as using Ao Ling Xiao's hand to eliminate the dissidents? Ao Ling Xiao was still nervous. He didn't pay attention to the other elders. His gaze was fixed on the first elder and second elder. He knew very well that these two elders had always been fair and impartial. Even if Ao Zhengquang became the patriarch, he believed that the two elders would not change their standards. It was precisely because of this that these two elders were highly respected in the family. Great elder, I was really wronged. If it weren't for this, I wouldn't have come back today. That's not necessarily true. Ao Zhengquang sneered, aren't you just greedy for the patriarch's position? Back then, it was also because of this that he had done something that angered both men and gods. Chapter 5462. Ao Zhengquang, stop spouting venomous slander. Ao Ling Xiao angrily cursed, all of this is just you framing me. As Ao Ling Xiao's voice fell, everyone's expression changed slightly. Many people didn't expect Ao Ling Xiao to say such words. This is just your sophistry. There is no evidence at all. It's just a joke. Ao Zhengquang snorted coldly, come. Catch him now and punish him according to his family law. Wait. The great elder suddenly said, since Ao Ling Xiao is back, let's listen to him clearly. Whether he did it or not, we want a reason. Great elder. Patriarch Ling Xiao is still your younger brother. I believe you want to know the reason behind all this. The great elder directly blocked Ao Zhengquang's words and didn't give him a chance to speak again. Seeing this, Ao Zhengquang's face was a little ugly. Even if he had become the master, the great elder was the most respected existence in the family. He couldn't ignore his thoughts. What's more, if he was too obvious, it would also arouse suspicion. Now you can speak. The great elder said slowly. Ao Ling Xiao glanced at the crowd and said, I didn't explain at that time. I said that everything was Ao Zhengquang's doing. He just framed everything on me, that's all. Although my explanation was a little weak compared to what he said, it was because he had planned for a long time and I was in shock that such a situation happened. Father gave me the position of the master. What reason do I have to do this? The position of the master? Ao Ling Xiao asked and answered his own question. If it was for this, I didn't need to do this at all. On the contrary, such a name will only hinder my future. It's not worth it. But Ao Zhengquang is different. Father and mother are dead and I am wronged. The only one who benefits is him. Ao Ling Xiao pointed his right hand at Ao Zhengquang. His loud voice was like a warning bell in everyone's heart. Ao Zhengquang's face changed when he heard this accusation. He had already guessed that Ao Ling Xiao would ask all these questions. After all, Di Beichen and the others had already rendered him speechless when they were on the flying artifact to the immortal cloud secret realm. In fact, until now he still couldn't find a better explanation for these words. Ao Zhengquang could not help but feel anxious. He did not understand why Jun Lingxuan had not appeared yet. If he let the situation continue to develop, it would not benefit him at all. He couldn't let everyone's trust in him waver. He had spent many years accumulating this trust. If they were defeated just like that, it would be really troublesome in the future. Everyone, don't listen to his nonsense. He did such a thing with such thoughts in mind. If I hadn't happened to run into him, his plan would have succeeded. No one would believe me. He's standing on the side of justice. Ao Zhengquang's voice rang out. He looked at Ao Ling Xiao with a burning gaze, his voice as cold as ice. Don't think that you can change everything just because you've turned the spearhead to me. Everyone knows this very well. Chapter 5463. Looking at Ao Zhengquang, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also understood why Ao Ling Xiao had been beaten so badly that he couldn't even fight back. At least, in terms of acting, he was no match for Ao Zhengquang. If they didn't know the truth, they would have chosen to stand on Ao Zhengquang's side after seeing his expression. This man was very shrewd. Thinking about it, he must have spent a lot of effort to achieve this. He must have used all his strength to practice this expression every day. It was because of this that he was able to disguise himself impeccably. He made people choose to believe him when there were many doubtful points. This method was really amazing. Now he was using the same trick again. I finally understand why Ling Xiao was defeated by him previously. It's really hard to tell the difference between the real and the fake. Sheng Guanying couldn't help but sigh. She had always thought that Ling Xiao was too slow and didn't know how to explain things. Now, it seemed that even if she was in his shoes, the situation wouldn't be any better. After seeing Zhengquang's expression, the people who had been doubting him calmed down again. Ling Xiao naturally noticed this as well, and his brows knitted together again. Back then he was also forced to be speechless by Zhengquang's acting skills in front of everyone. Even now this guy's ability to disguise was still so powerful. Everything he said paled in comparison to this perfect performance. In the next moment, a touch of determination and madness appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes. He suddenly raised his head and said in a heavy and powerful voice, "Elders, I can give up everything in my family. I am even willing to give up my life. I only want to avenge my parents and prove my innocence. I am willing to cut my throat on the spot, but I only hope that you can believe me. No matter what, I can't let this bastard who killed his parents get away with it. Otherwise, even if I go to hell, I can't face my parents." As Ling Xiao's voice fell, the thousands of people gathered in the field suddenly quieted down. All the noise disappeared at this moment. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at the crazy and serious face in disbelief. They never thought that Ling Xiao would make such a choice. Using death to prove his innocence. He wanted to use death to prove his innocence. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but be moved. The great elder looked at Ling Xiao in shock. If he still believed in Zhengquang before, then at this moment his thoughts began to change. If all of this was really done by Ling Xiao, then since he had escaped, there was no need for him to use death to prove his innocence. The only reason he did this was to prove his innocence and not let everyone be played by Zhengquang. Isn't this action of the second young master a little too shocking? I think he doesn't look like he's acting. Using death to prove his sincerity, what kind of determination and conviction is this? I think what he said might be true. Lower your voice. You can't talk about this kind of thing carelessly. We still don't know. Maybe the second young master wants to use this method to make us believe in him. Chapter 54-64. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but worry when they heard Ling Xiao's words. This was actually the worst decision they could think of, but they didn't expect Ling Xiao to say it so directly. However, in the current situation, if he wanted the elders to be willing to believe him, he was afraid that this was the only way for them to change their views. "Master, I feel that it won't be easy to make a comeback in this situation." Xiao He frowned. There was no evidence of the matter at that time. It was completely based on who said it more realistically. However, Zhengquang's acting skills are really good. If there was evidence, then this guy wouldn't be so arrogant. This matter happened many years ago. No matter how you look at it, Ling Xiao is at a disadvantage. Xiao Bai couldn't help but worry. This kind of situation really made people feel uneasy. When Zhengquang heard Jun Lingxuan say such words, his heart couldn't help but tremble. Then he found that the elders' gazes towards Ling Xiao began to change. It was obvious that some of them were beginning to believe his words. This wasn't the situation he wanted to see. If everyone was really persuaded by Ling Xiao, then he would be finished. Thinking back to the time when the elders believed in Ling Xiao, he absolutely didn't want to see that scene again. When the third elder saw this, he couldn't help but look at Zhengquang. Ling Xiao had already said this, so it was really difficult for him to continue. "I didn't expect the family to be so lively today. Even the D family has come." At this time, a clear voice came from afar. It was 30% joking and 70% casual. Hearing this familiar voice, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others knew that Jun Lingxuan had arrived. When Zhengquang saw Jun Lingxuan appear, it was as if he had seen his savior. He was relieved and felt a lot more at ease. As long as Jun Lingxuan was here, this conflict could be turned into a conflict between the D family and the Jun family. It would be easy to stop Ling Xiao from continuing. In their line of sight, they saw Jun Lingxuan slowly walking over with Xiao Sou beside him. The two of them were like a golden couple, attracting everyone's attention. The elders of the family frowned when they saw that Jun Lingxuan and Yi Shiwen had also appeared. The situation was already very complicated. Now the Jun family and the Xiao family had joined in as well. In other words, the current situation was completely out of their control. The initiative had already fallen into the hands of others. This wasn't good news for them. From the moment Xiao Sou appeared, Her gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. A bone-deep hatred and murderous intent quietly bloomed. It was all because of this damned woman. She had taken away the position of the holy maiden that she cared about the most. Even though it had been some time since that day, she still felt as if she was still in the same place. That humiliation had always surrounded her, making her feel uncomfortable. Now, just by feeling everyone's gaze, she recalled the scene from that day. Under everyone's watchful eyes, she had lost all her face. Today she must make Bailey Hongzhuang kowtow in front of her and beg for mercy. Then she would give her a fatal blow. She wanted this woman to know the price of offending her. Chapter 54-65. Jun Lingxuan, why are you here? Di Beichen's face turned gloomy. His eyes flashed with surprise, revealing his inner turmoil. Noticing this, Jun Lingxuan's eyes became more complacent. What? Only you are allowed to come and I am not allowed to come? You know we are allies with the AO family. On the contrary, you are here to find trouble. If we are not here to help, wouldn't the AO family be bullied by you for no reason? AO Zhengquang saw this and his face also showed a look of relief. Yes, your D family is a big family. Today you are coming aggressively. If not for young Master Jun and Miss Zhao's help, I'm afraid I can't stop you at all. Speaking of which, today is really a coincidence. We were just thinking of going to the AO family and bumped into you. Jun Lingxuan's lips curled up as he asked with a smile, Di Beichen, are you surprised? He was very proud when he knew that Di Beichen and the others were nearby. It seemed that the information they received was indeed correct. Taking advantage of this opportunity, they could finally catch Di Beichen and the others in one fell swoop. He had been looking forward to this day for a long time. Listening to Jun Lingxuan's words, Di Beichen sneered. You're always like a ghost. I have long been used to it. Seeing that Di Beichen pretended to be calm, Jun Lingxuan said disdainfully, Di Beichen, don't pretend. I can imagine your current mood. If you want to imagine, then imagine. Anyway, you have a rich imagination. These words sounded neither salty nor light, but in Jun Lingxuan's ears, no matter how he heard them, they didn't sound right. Was he mocking him? Di Beichen, how come he has a rich imagination? Shengguan Yingying couldn't help but ask. Every day you rely on your imagination to defeat me. Isn't that a rich imagination? Pfft. Shengguan Yingying laughed without giving him any face. This joke was really interesting. Jun Lingxuan's face instantly turned livid, but then he heard Bailey Hongzhuang say, so, Xiao Sou's imagination is quite rich. No wonder they are called a match made in heaven. The cultivators of the AO clan looked at each other. Was this how a match made in heaven should be used? Xiao Sou's unfriendly expression became even more sinister, and her eyes were as deep as water. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't think that you're so great just because you've become the holy maiden of light. I remember when you thought you were the saintess of the light, you always acted like you were something. Bailey Hongzhuang told the truth with an innocent expression. Xiao Sou's face was filled with anger. Her livid face had already swelled to the color of pig liver. Even her ears had begun to fill with blood. However, she suddenly relaxed. You can be arrogant. Let's see how long you can be arrogant for. This time, the clan had already sent out their forces. Whether it was Bailey Hongzhuang or Di Beichen, it was impossible for them to leave alive. Moreover, these people who had helped Bailey Hongzhuang to belittle him would all die here this time. Then you'll have to watch carefully. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and said with a smile. In the next second, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other. They also understood why Xiao Sou was able to restrain her anger. Obviously, she was waiting to deal with them later. Chapter 54-66. On the contrary, they were also looking forward to the confrontation with the Jun family. After so many years of grudges, although there was often friction between the disciples of both sides had never really gone to war. However, this time, no matter if it was the other side or them, they all came with the intention of killing each other. Jun Lingxuan, let's put aside the personal grudges between us for now. What we need to solve now is the matter of the AO family. Let's not disturb each other, okay? Di Beichen stared at Jun Lingxuan with his deep black eyes. Even if there would be an unavoidable battle between them later, the more important goal today was to help AO Lingxiao clear his name. When he agreed to come with AO Lingxiao, it was to give him the confidence to explain everything that had happened. If he used this as an opportunity to catch the spy and fight with the Jun family, it would be too inappropriate. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan was very indifferent. He didn't care about the grudges of the AO family at all. He didn't believe that Ao Lingxiao could change everyone's opinion. Moreover, even if it did, it had nothing to do with the Jun family. Okay. Seeing that Jun Lingxuan was about to agree to Di Baichen, Ao Zhengquang couldn't help but feel anxious. He quickly gave a signal with his eyes. The situation now was not the same as before. It was extremely unfavorable for him now. Jun Lingxuan noticed Ao Lingxiao's expression and was a little surprised. Logically speaking, after knowing that Di Baichen and the others would come today, Ao Zhengquang had been preparing for a long time to deal with them. They had thought of all kinds of situations. It should be impossible for them to not have the ability to resist. However, Ao Zhengquang was asking for help at this moment. Obviously there was a problem. Ao Zhengquang naturally didn't think that Ao Lingxiao would say such a crazy thing. Generally speaking, what people cared about the most was their own life. Even if they were splashed with dirty water, there was no need to risk their lives. Now he was going to drag him down with him. Di Baichen, don't talk to me about these useless things. Since we've met today, we should settle the score properly. The change in Jun Lingxuan's attitude was too fast, and everyone was keenly aware of it. Di Baichen looked at Ao Zhengquang meaningfully. It seems that someone doesn't want Jun Lingxuan to speak. The Great Elder and the others knew that there were many suspicious points. Even if they saw Ao Lingxiao in the room, it might not be enough to prove that he was the culprit. Most importantly, Ao Lingxiao's reaction at this moment was indeed somewhat suspicious. Di Baichen, stop slandering me. Ao Zhengquang jumped up anxiously as if someone had stepped on his tail. Everything that Ao Lingxiao is saying now is just sophistry. He just wants to use this method to win everyone's sympathy and make everyone suspect me. In this way your plan can succeed, but I won't let you do as you wish. The next moment, Ao Zhengquang seemed to have made a huge decision. He suddenly said, Elders, I understand that Ao Lingxiao's words have shocked you and even made you suspect me. I also understand that he wanted to frame me but failed. He has been unwilling to accept it. Since that's the case, I'll take him down with me. This will be the last bit of strength I can do for my family. Chapter 54-67. Ao Zhengquang seemed to have thrown caution to the wind and was ready to sacrifice himself for the family. His eyes were resolute and firm, revealing a trace of unconcealable pain. Lingxiao, let us brothers go to hell to meet our parents today. Drama queen, this guy is really a drama queen. Shengguan Yingying couldn't help but curse out loud. After coming here today, she was simply watching this guy's performance. Ao Lingxiao faced this kind of Ao Zhengquang. His heart was furious to the extreme, but he didn't know what to say. At least in terms of acting, he really couldn't compete with Ao Zhengquang. What the hell is going on? I'm confused. It's really hard to explain now. I feel that the second young master didn't seem like this guy, but the family head didn't seem to be lying either. One of them must be lying. Now that I think about it, their ability to disguise is too amazing. At this moment, everyone was confused. The only thing they were sure of was that one of the two people's acting skills was too amazing. A group of elders was also constantly thinking in their minds. What was the truth at that time? Aside from Ao Lingxiao and Ao Zhengquang, no one else knew, so they could only judge based on their own thoughts. Di Baichen, don't think about helping Ao Lingxiao turn the tables. Family head Ao has already said so much. What else do you want? Jun Lingxuan lazily looked at Di Baichen. Everything has already been determined. Even if you don't want to admit it now, it's useless. You don't have any evidence at all. Just relying on this mouth is completely useless. Xiao Shou also sneered. Why should everyone believe him? Unless there is a third person present or you have solid evidence, don't waste everyone's time here. Ao Lingxiao furrowed his brows. If he hadn't panicked and allowed Ao Lingxiao to convince everyone, the situation wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Noticing that the situation was beginning to change, the third elder also said, Ao Lingxiao, if you can't produce evidence, you can't avoid being punished by the family rules today. Ao Lingxiao's face turned pale as he faced the crowd's questioning. Evidence? Indeed he didn't. When he thought about how he had prepared for so long, but in the end, it was all for naught, a pained expression appeared on his face. His parents had died so unjustly. As their son, he couldn't even find the real murderer for them. However, at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly said, Evidence? Who said there isn't? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present was stunned. Their shocked and astonished gazes were focused on Bailey Hongzhuang. Did I hear wrongly? The Saint of Light said that she has evidence? It's been so long since that incident. How could there still be evidence? If there was evidence, second young master would have said it long ago. He wouldn't have waited until now. Not only the cultivators of the AO family, but even Shengguan Yingying and the others were stunned. They did not understand why Bailey Hongzhuang would suddenly say such a thing. Ziren, what's going on? Shengguan Yingying nudged Ziren with her elbow and asked curiously in a low voice. Chapter 5468. Seeing that when Ziren didn't know what was going on, Shengguan Yingying stood quietly at the side. She believed that Bailey Hongzhuang must have her reasons for doing so. Maybe she really had evidence. Even if this possibility was very small, but with her understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang, she would never speak empty words. After Ao Zhengquang heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, he couldn't help but be shocked and panicked subconsciously. When he did such a thing, he was also extremely nervous, but there shouldn't be any evidence left. Young Master Jun, what does Bailey Hongzhuang mean? Ao Zhengquang transmitted his voice. If possible, he really didn't want to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman always had the ability to subvert things. How stable was Xiao Sou's identity as the Holy Maiden of Light? However, after meeting Bailey Hongzhuang, all of this had a huge change. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had turned the spearhead to the AO family, he couldn't help but be worried. Don't panic. Jun Lingxuan was very calm. When you did that thing, Bailey Hongzhuang hadn't come to the upper realm yet. How could she have something on you? If Ao Lingxiao had it, he would have taken it out long ago. Why would he wait until now? Then what does she mean by this? After a short period of nervousness, Ao Zhengquang calmed down a little and his mind began to work quickly. In my opinion, she most likely wants to take this opportunity to blow you up. If you accidentally reveal some clues, then they will have evidence. Although it was a guess, Jun Lingxuan's tone was extremely firm. He had been dealing with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others for a long time. He knew that these guys were very treacherous, so the best strategy was to bide his time. Yes, you must not be nervous. Xiao Sou also said, since she dug such a big hole, let's see how she's going to clean it up later. A confident and expectant smile appeared on her beautiful face. Xiao Sou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with sparkling eyes. It was as if she could foresee Bailey Hongzhuang being humiliated. Since you have evidence, just take it out so that everyone won't have to guess, Jun Lingxuan said lightly. That's right. I really didn't expect you to be so powerful. You've clearly only arrived in the upper realm 2 years ago, yet you've managed to obtain evidence of something that happened many years ago. If this were to spread, wouldn't it be shocking? Xiao Sou teased. He was obviously flattering Bailey Hongzhuang, but his words directly revealed the problem. After hearing this, the elders of the Ao clan also had expressions of disbelief. If Ao Lingxiao had evidence, they might have believed it. However, if Bailey Hongzhuang had evidence, then this was a complete joke. Most importantly, from Ao Lingxiao's shocked expression, it was clear that he didn't have any evidence at all. Wasn't this just toying with them? Hongzhuang, even if you fail today, it's fine. Don't ruin your reputation because of me. Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but worry. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang's identity was no longer the same as before. She was the young mistress of the D family and the Saint of Light. With these two identities added together, she was destined to be extraordinary. If they made a fool of themselves today, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou definitely wouldn't let go of this opportunity. At that time, Bailey Hongzhuang would be greatly affected. Chapter 5469. Aren't you the one who knows best whether I'm a celestial being or not? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Sou with a smile. Even though the majority of the people present didn't believe her words, she still had a calm and confident look on her face. It was as if all the remarks weren't directed at her. Xiao Sou's gaze suddenly became gloomy. Looking at the bright and beautiful face in front of her, she really wanted to rush up and destroy it. This woman, no matter what, always had a confident look on her face. And it was this kind of expression that made her very unhappy. Then I'm really curious. If you have the ability, then take out the evidence. Otherwise, you're treating everyone here as fools. Xiao Sou spread out her hands and looked at the people around her. The corner of her mouth once again raised into a mocking smile. The dignified Holy Maiden of Light, if you spout nonsense in front of others and say something unreliable, it would be very interesting if word got out. As soon as these words came out, the cultivators of the Xiao and Jun families couldn't help but chuckle. Big sister, isn't she obviously lying? But this kind of cheap trick, no one would be fooled by it. Xiao Sudong's face was full of disdain. He used to think that Bailey Hongzhuang was quite clever, but today he felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was simply brainless. Holy Maiden of Light, if you really have evidence, I hope you can take it out. This is very important to our family. The great elder's calm voice was filled with sincerity. He believed that the Saint of Light would not casually say something so uncouth. As the great elder of the family and also the uncle of the deceased family head, he hoped to know the truth. Now, whether it was Ao Zhengquang or Ao Lingxiao, their behavior made him suspicious. But even if everyone didn't believe Ao Lingxiao in his heart, he still believed that Ao Lingxiao wouldn't do such a thing. He watched Ao Zhengquang and Ao Lingxiao grow up and understood their temperament very well. But at that time they all saw Ao Lingxiao holding a dagger in his hand in the house, which made them believe everything. If there was evidence, then he could be completely at ease. He didn't want to be deceived by that bastard who killed his parents for a lifetime. Then he would become a sinner of the Ao clan. When the second elder saw that the first elder was actually so serious, he was also a little surprised. However, when he saw the enchanting figure standing proudly in front of him, he understood. Because Bailey Hongzhuang was too young, they always subconsciously ignored her identity as the Saint of Light. Although Xiao Shou was also young, her reputation had been around for a long time. Everyone had subtly gotten used to it. On the other hand, Bailey Hongzhuang was a figure who had risen to fame in the past 2 years. Everyone had not completely accepted this change. However, since she had such a status, it was naturally impossible for her to speak nonsense without any scruples in such an occasion. First Elder Bailey Hongzhuang is obviously talking nonsense. How can you still believe her? Ao Zhengquang was speechless for a while. He only thought that the great elder was getting more and more muddle-headed as he got older. He was confused because of his concern, so there was a moment of panic. But the great elder didn't have to go that far. The words of the Holy Maiden of Light are naturally not false. The great elder still insisted. Chapter 5470. Back then there was no evidence at all. On the contrary, all the evidence pointed towards Ao Zhengquang. Even after so many years, he still had no way to change everything. Therefore, when he returned this time, he was more prepared to kill Ao Zhengquang. In this way, he could be considered to have avenged his parents. As for the rest, he no longer cared. Even if he were to fall in the Ao clan, it would be worth it. At least, the Ao clan would not fall into the hands of this ambitious man. Of course, he wanted to take back the clan. However, unless Jun Lingxuan and Ao Zhengquang revealed the truth, he had no bargaining chips. Seeing Ao Lingxiao so worried, Di Beichen smiled and patted his shoulder. His handsome face was free and easy. Don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Di Beichen and realized that Di Beichen was looking at her with trust. Even if he did not know what she was planning to do, Di Beichen was also full of trust. If that's the case, then I will take out the evidence and clear Ao Lingxiao's name. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips rose slightly. Her proud figure set off her confident face, as dazzling as the sun, attracting everyone's attention. Xiao Shou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang lazily. The so-called evidence did not exist. In the next moment, a porcelain bottle appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Saintess, what is this? The great elder looked at Bailey Hongzhuang suspiciously. Naturally, he had heard of Bailey Hongzhuang's identity as an alchemist. However, why would she take out a pill at this time? I wonder if the great elder has heard of the truth pill? Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was gentle. She was also very respectful towards the great elder. Based on his current performance, the great elder was obviously a fair and impartial existence. Moreover, even though Ao Zhengquang had been the clan leader for so many years, the great elder was not bribed by him. Most importantly, she understood from the great elder's attitude towards Ao Lingxiao that he was a person who valued friendship and righteousness. This was something that deserved everyone's respect. As Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, everyone present was stunned. Truth pill? The great elder was also a little surprised. However, after thinking about it carefully, he remembered something related to it. Saintess, are you talking about the pill that will make people speak only the truth after consuming it? Although this kind of medicinal pill was not helpful for cultivation, it could play a huge role in many cases, especially during interrogation. It could be used in the simplest way to get everything he wanted to know. However, the recipe for such a pill had been lost many years ago. Everyone felt very helpless about this. It was a pity that many precious treasures had disappeared in the long flow of history. However, now that Bailey Hongzhuang had mentioned the truth pill, everyone was very surprised. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang still had this lost recipe? Not only the great elder, but the other cultivators also understood the preciousness of the truth pill after a short moment of surprise. They all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. If she really had the recipe for the truth pill, it would be amazing. Jun Lingxuan could not help but be stunned when he heard about the truth pill. He frowned and his eyes were full of suspicion. The truth pill has disappeared for many years. The relevant records can only be seen in the history books. Bailey Hongzhuang mentioned this out of the blue. Could it be that there really is one? Chapter 5471. Ao Zhengquang's expression suddenly changed, and his palms couldn't help but sweat. Everything that happened at that time was indeed dead, but if there really was a truth pill, then everything would be ruined. When he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang again, his expression was extremely complicated. This woman could always come up with some words that others couldn't think of, inexplicably giving him an indescribable threat. As far as I know, the pill formula of the truth pill has been lost for many years. Now no one in the entire upper realm knows about it. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't be deliberately mystifying, this is simply impossible. Xiao Sou snorted coldly and sneered at Bailey Hongzhuang's words. If Shangguan Yingying and the others were still a little worried about Bailey Hongzhuang's situation before, then at this moment, after knowing all this, they were not worried at all. It was not the first time they had seen this lost pill formula on Bailey Hongzhuang. For others, it was difficult to obtain the lost pill formula, but for Bailey Hongzhuang, it was simply a common occurrence. At least, in terms of pills, they had never doubted Bailey Hongzhuang. Ling Xiao, you can rest assured now, Hongzhuang will help you prove your innocence. A look of excitement appeared on Wen Xiren's face. Previously, when he thought of Ao Ling Xiao's predicament as his brother, it would be very difficult for him to help. But now there was finally a way to save him. How could he not feel happy? Ao Ling Xiao was still in a state of shock for a while, and he hadn't reacted yet. After hearing Xiren's words, he still didn't dare to be sure. Is this true? Of course it's true. Xiren nodded. You don't have to doubt the pill that Hongzhuang took out, Mo Yunjue said with certainty. Hearing this, Ao Ling Xiao's face, which had lost all hope, suddenly seemed to be rejuvenated, and his dim eyes were filled with hope again. If there really was such a pill, then everything could be easily solved, and he wouldn't have to endure everyone's doubts and guesses. On the contrary, he could hold his head high and be an upright person. The people from the Jun family and the Xiao family naturally noticed the joy on Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Their confidence couldn't help but weaken a little. If these words came from someone else's mouth, they would definitely not believe it. However, the person who spoke was Bailey Hongzhuang. For some reason they felt uneasy. Xiao Sou, whether you believe me or not is your business. It has nothing to do with me. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly glanced at Xiao Sou, then turned her gaze to Ao Zhengquang. Since Ao family head is so sure that everything he said is true, then why don't you and Ling Xiao take this truth pill together? In this way the truth can be distinguished. If everything was really done by Ling Xiao, then you can punish him according to your family's rules. We will definitely not get involved. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Ao Zhengquang with a smile. Her gentle words made people unable to resist. That's right, this is undoubtedly the best way to prove it. Instead of arguing here, why don't we test it out and save ourselves the trouble? Di Beichen's voice rang out, staring at Ao Zhengquang, not giving him the slightest chance to refuse. Young Master Jun, what should I do? Chapter 5472. Jun Lingxuan's heart was beating like a drum at the moment. He didn't know what Bailey Hongzhuang was up to, but he couldn't see any clues from her confident expression. Logically speaking, the possibility of the existence of the truth pill was almost zero, but other than that, he couldn't think of any other reason to explain what Bailey Hongzhuang was doing at the moment. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had forced Ao Zhengquang to this point, they had no other choice. If they agreed, they would fall into Bailey Hongzhuang's trap. If they didn't agree, it was bound to arouse everyone's suspicion. Just when Jun Lingxuan was hesitating and didn't know what to do, Xiao Sou's voice sounded first. Let's try. Xiao Sou sneered, I hope you don't shoot yourself in the foot. If you're exposed, you won't be able to get off the stage. You don't have to worry about it. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged, between you and me, only you will do this. Xiao Sou glared at Bailey Hongzhuang fiercely. What this guy did was simply infuriating. I want to remind you that if you don't want to lose face, leave here as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you're exposed later, you won't be able to get off the stage. If you accidentally faint like last time, I'm worried that you'll say that I bullied you. The delicate and gentle voice was like the sound of nature, but it was like a needle hidden in cotton, which made Xiao Sou extremely uncomfortable. At that time, in front of so many people, she fainted because of anger. It was really embarrassing. This guy just liked to expose people's scars. You only need to worry about yourself. Last time I did fall, but this time I definitely won't. The next moment, Xiao Shou turned to look at Ao Zhengquang. Quickly take this truth pill to prove your innocence. Looking at the impulsive Xiao Shou in front of him, Ao Zhengquang was really suffering. Wasn't he here to help her solve her problem today? Why was this Xiao family's eldest miss so focused on being angry that she didn't even think about his situation? Don't worry, this can't be true. Xiao Shou lowered her voice. A while ago, I just happened to hear my father mention this truth pill. It said that even the Alchemist Association doesn't have it. Moreover, although there have been new discoveries of historical remains recently, the truth pill's pill formula hasn't appeared, so you can rest assured. Bailey Hongzhuang just wants to use this method to scare you so that you don't dare to take it. In this way, everyone will be more careful of Ao Lingxiao. Hearing this, Ao Zhengquang was a little hesitant. Xiao Shou's words were indeed not wrong, but when he thought about this period of time, Xiao Shou had been defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, he could not help but be a little worried. For Xiao Shou, it was no big deal to lose, but if he lost this time, then his life would really be over. Master Ao, you are so hesitant. Could it be that you have a guilty conscience? Di Beichen chuckled. His sharp eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. For a moment, Ao Zhengquang only felt that everything in his heart was seen through by Di Beichen, but he quickly calmed down and calmly said, "This time Ao Lingxiao came with the purpose of perishing together with me. How do I know that you won't do anything to this pill?" Chapter 5473. How about I take this pill? Di Beichen quickly followed up. Hearing this, Ao Zhengquang coldly looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. These guys must have already expected all the possibilities before so they could deal with it so easily. Alright then. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only choose to agree. However, just as Ao Zhengquang and Ao Lingxiao were about to take the truth pill, a large group of people suddenly came from behind. The dense sound of footsteps attracted everyone's attention. Turning their gazes slightly, everyone found that Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong were leading the cultivators of the two big families slowly walking over. The huge formation attracted everyone's shocked gaze. Everyone looked at this vast group of people in astonishment. They didn't understand why they would appear here at this moment. The heads of the two big families are here. Isn't this formation a bit too shocking? Today we are just dealing with our family's affairs. Why are the people of the three big families all here? I'm afraid something big is going to happen. Do you think that Xiao Shou and the others want to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang, but they don't have enough strength, so even the heads of their families are here? The cultivators of the Ao family looked at each other. Countless thoughts emerged in their minds, but everyone's guess was almost the same. Because other than this, they couldn't think of any other reason. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the others noticed this scene, they sneered in their hearts. It seems that the Xiao family really values us. Even the head of the family is here. The phoenix eyes that were as black as ink let out a cold brilliance. Bailey Hongzhuang quietly revealed a trace of killing intent between her brows. If others don't offend me, I won't offend them. The other party's actions today were obviously to kill them. Since that was the case, she wouldn't be polite. Since they were destined to be enemies, it was better to end it completely. If they could end the other party's life, it would be a great thing for them. Father's judgment is indeed correct. The Xiao clan's patriarch dotes on Xiao Shou to a degree that is beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. It's just that your daughter has been wronged. You don't even care about your face. Di Beichen's voice was cold and his expression was indifferent. He just calmly looked at the group of people in front of him. A storm was brewing in the depths of his eyes. Actually, from the fact that Patriarch Xiao can walk together with Junhong Cheng, I can tell that the two of them are birds of a feather. Otherwise, how can an ordinary person stand such a despicable and shameless person like Junhong Cheng? Di Xiaofeng sneered mercilessly. He knew that the Jun family was shameless to the extreme, but now he understood that the Xiao family was the same. In comparison, their previous actions were too gentlemanly. In the future, they would definitely not be polite to such fellows. Father, you're here. After Xiao Shou saw that Xiao Yanlong had come, a flower-like smile immediately bloomed on her face. The anger that had accumulated on her face quietly dissipated and was replaced by a trace of relief. It was as if she had eaten a calming pill and all the uneasiness from before disappeared. A doting smile also appeared on Xiao Yanlong's face. How is the matter progressing? Xiao Shou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a malicious gaze. Aren't you still stubborn? Chapter 5474. Xiao Yanlong nodded his head slightly and looked at Jun Lingxuan with satisfaction. Ever since he accepted Jun Lingxuan as his future son-in-law, he was quite satisfied. When the great elder of the Ao clan saw that there were so many people in the clan today, he could not help but frown. He had an ominous feeling in his heart. In fact, before this, the clan head had already told him that Ao Lingxiao could come back at any time. Therefore, he did not find the appearance of Di Beichen and Jun Lingxuan too strange. However, when the two clan heads appeared here, the situation became completely different. Vaguely, he felt that a lot of things were going to happen today. Most importantly, from the clan head's expression, he did not seem to see much surprise. Could it be that the clan head already knew about this? Clan head, what's the situation now? At the same time, the second elder had already asked Ao Zhengquang directly. I don't know either. Ao Zhengquang shook his head. The people from the three big clans are all here. Compared to them, we are the weakest. I'm afraid we can't do anything. Why don't we just watch first? Hearing this, the second elder nodded his head slightly. This was also the truth. Compared to the three big clans, the Ao clan really could not get a word in. What's the situation with Ling Sun now? Junhong Qing glanced at Di Beichen and the others arrogantly and asked. Bailey Hongzhuang said that she has the truth pill. Therefore, she is now planning to let clan head Ao and Ao Lingxiao take the truth pill to see who is telling the truth. Jun Lingxuan simply recounted what had happened before and gave Junhong Qing a look. If they could prevent Ao Zhengquang from taking the truth pill, this would undoubtedly be the best. Previously, he was worried that he had no reason to refuse. Now that Junhong Qing was here, he could naturally directly pass the previous matter. Junhong Qing naturally understood what his son meant. A trace of impatience appeared between his eyebrows. What does this have to do with us? You came here to settle your own matters? Not yet. Jun Lingxuan shook his head. His expression was somewhat ashamed. After all, this is the territory of the Ao clan. Their matter hasn't been settled yet. So, it's not convenient for us to do anything else. What's inconvenient about that? Xiao Yanlong had an indifferent expression as he said to Xiao Sou, nothing else is important. The most important thing is to resolve the grudge between the two of you. So you can do whatever you want. Xiao Yanlong's thoughts were very simple. He came this time to let Xiao Sou vent her anger. Whether it was Di Beichen or Bailey Hongzhuang, they had already felt threatened. If they were allowed to continue growing, they would definitely become their greatest enemy in the future. Therefore, even if their actions today were indeed against the rules, as long as they could kill these two fellows who might shake the foundation of their family in the future, everything would be worth it. Moreover, these two had made his daughter so disappointed. It was only right for them to pay the price. Seeing that her father was so supportive of her, Xiao Sou was also excited. She immediately turned her gaze and said with a ferocious expression, since that's the case, let's first cripple Bailey Hongzhuang. A strong hatred flashed in her eyes. When she said the word cripple, she gritted her teeth and revealed an unconcealable excitement. Chapter 5475. Seeing that Xiao Yanlong had targeted Bailey Hongzhuang without saying a word, Di Beichen's face instantly became gloomy, and a terrible storm swept through his eyes that were as deep as the sea. Patriarch Xiao, as an elder, you actually came to deal with the younger generation. Don't you think it's too shameful? His cold words were filled with suppression and killing intent. When everyone noticed Di Beichen's expression, they couldn't help but be shocked. They had never seen such a terrifying Di Beichen. At this moment, he seemed to be shrouded in a layer of shadow. A shocking killing intent spread out with him as the center. The surrounding air seemed to have become condensed and oppressive, causing everyone's hearts to tremble for no reason. Xiao Yanlong originally didn't take Di Beichen's words to heart, but after seeing the latter's shocking appearance, he couldn't help but be shocked. At such a young age, he actually had such a terrifying killing intent. It was likely that many people had died at his hands. This kind of Di Beichen made him feel that this child couldn't be left alive. He didn't know how Di Yujua's luck was so good. His son had been wandering outside for so many years, and after returning he could still be so outstanding. It made people jealous. It's not like they've been shameful for a day or two. Di Xiaofeng's eyes were filled with ridicule. The Jun family was able to make a move on an infant a few years ago. Now that the two of them are colluding with each other, it's probably very fair for them to bully the young. Di Xiaofeng, don't think that just because you're a junior, you can casually accuse others. Don't make wild guesses without evidence. Jun Hongqing coldly warned. They had done everything very cleanly and didn't leave any traces. Even if the D family had already determined all of this, he still wouldn't admit it. Wild guesses? Di Xiaofeng coldly snorted. If they didn't have enough evidence before, then everything had come to light after catching Daiheoan. Jun Hongqing not only used an infant but more than once. Beichen had been wandering outside all these years, the third elder's child had died, and Daiheoan had been used as soon as he was born. In comparison, even though they could not tolerate what Daiheoan had done from Daiheoan's point of view, he was also a pitiful person because he could not control what he wanted to do. Whether or not it's just a wild guess, the Jun family head should know in his heart. After seeing this scene, the great elder of the Ao family completely understood. It seemed like the Jun family and the Xiao family wanted to take advantage of Ao Ling Zhao's return to deal with Di Beichen and the others. Even though the Ao family was now attached to the Jun family, he still frowned when he saw this scene. Generally speaking, seniors would not attack juniors. Although this was not a rule, it was something that everyone abided by. However, there were only a few juniors from the D family, and the other side had sent so many people to surround and annihilate them. If this spread out, it would be a joke. Most importantly, from this point, it could be seen that the temperaments of these two clan heads were too petty. Jun family head, it's not good for the strong to bully the young. The great elder of the Ao family thought and said, moreover, the Saint of Light has a special identity. If you attack her, this. Chapter 5476. The Holy Light Assembly was a colossus in the upper realm. Xiao Sou had been in the Holy Light Assembly for a long time, so she must be very clear about this. The Jun family and the Xiao family were big families, so they might have some power to contend with them. However, for the Ao family, this was definitely a disaster. Hearing this, Jun Hongqing's face suddenly became gloomy. He scolded, "It's not your turn to interrupt." The great elder's face suddenly turned red. He was already so old, but he still had to be taught a lesson by someone younger than him. However, the other party's status was higher than his, so he could only endure it. Bailey Hongzhuang quietly glanced at the great elder of the Ao family. Although these words were for the sake of the Ao family, it was also to protect their safety. Great elder, this matter is not something we can participate in. Don't speak anymore. If the family is implicated, wouldn't it be terrible? Ao Zhengquang quickly pulled the great elder to the side and lowered his voice in exasperation. Today was a good opportunity to get rid of Di Beichen and the others. He was still hoping that after getting rid of Ao Lingxiao, he could be completely at ease. He didn't expect the great elder to be so inconsiderate. At this time, saying these words would make the two family heads unhappy. Wasn't that looking for trouble? Xiao Sou saw that her father was supporting her. Why would she care about anything else? After killing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, as long as the people present shut up, it would be fine. Without evidence, the Holy Light Assembly couldn't do anything to her. Moreover, once Bailey Hongzhuang died, the title of the Holy Light Assembly's saint might still fall on her head. At that time, would she still have to worry about these things? Do it. Kill her. Xiao Sou's face was full of ruthlessness. This woman destroyed everything she cared about. She wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to pay with her blood. Following Xiao Sou's words, the family's cultivators behind her rushed forward and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. How shameless. Shangguan Ying secretly spat, but the origin energy in her body quickly surged and she was ready to fight. Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue both appeared at Bailey Hongzhuang's side for the first time. Watching the other party's figure getting closer and closer, their eyes became colder and colder. Attack. Almost immediately, everyone started fighting. There were more than a dozen Nebula Realm cultivators. Obviously, they were aware of the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, so they were specially sent here. Jun Hongqing and Xiao Yanlong, on the other hand, were extremely calm. This was also a competition between young people. Although they were here, they did not make a move, so naturally they were not involved. Looking at the cultivators in front of them, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also moved. Before the other party's attack came, they had already taken the lead to face them. Bang! The battle erupted in an instant. Everyone's origin energy surged, their gazes were fierce, and their attacks were merciless. Ever since they found out about Ao Lingxiao's matter, they were filled with resentment and had nowhere to vent it. Now that the other party had delivered themselves to their doorstep, they would first collect some interest. Even if the other party was a high-level Nebula Realm cultivator, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not too worried. Now that they were not weak, even if they were usually very busy, they had never slacked off on their cultivation. Chapter 5477. Xiao Shou stood at the side with a smile. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked down at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. No matter what, Bailey Hongzhuang would die in their hands today. She couldn't help but feel excited just thinking about it. However, as the group of cultivators rushed up, Xiao Shou was shocked to find that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others weren't at a disadvantage at all. Shangguan Yingying and the others' cultivations were slightly weaker, so it was a little difficult for them to deal with these opponents. However, Di Beichen and the others would also pay attention to help, so it wasn't very difficult for them to deal with these opponents. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's combat strength couldn't be judged by their cultivations. When they fully unleashed their full power, their combat strength was extremely shocking. Of course, they couldn't compare to Ling Er. Ling Er's attack was really domineering to the extreme. It was an absolute suppression of strength. Jun Lingxuan and the others didn't put Ling Er in their eyes at all. They didn't know who Ling Er was and they had never seen her before. However, after seeing Ling Er's combat strength at this moment, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Nebula Realm cultivators seemed to be nothing in front of Ling Er. She could easily defeat them with a casual attack. When Xiren and the others also looked at Ling Er with admiration. They didn't expect Ling Er to be so powerful. It seemed that they didn't need to do anything at all. Ling Er could directly deal with these guys. Not only Ling Er, but Bai Li Yin-che was also a violent existence. Because his appearance was really too monstrous, many cultivators wanted to teach him a lesson. Especially when they felt that Bai Li Yin-che's cultivation couldn't compare to theirs, they became even more proud. However, it was only after this exchange that they realized that they were gravely mistaken. This was because that powerful strength wasn't something that a Nebula Realm cultivator could withstand. Almost all of the people who exchanged blows were destroyed by this strength. The tyrannical strength directly defeated them. They didn't even have time to release their martial techniques before their hands were directly crippled. How can these two guys be so powerful? Jun Lingxuan frowned. He had already noticed these two guys back in the Piercing Wind City. However, he didn't pay too much attention to them at that time. He only thought that these two people's looks were very outstanding, but he didn't expect them to be so powerful as well. Logically, it was impossible for these two guys to be from the lower realm. But if they were from the realm, it was impossible that he hadn't heard of them until now. Jun Hongqing's gaze was sinister and sharp. The talents that had recently appeared in the D clan had really surprised him. This man and woman looked very young, but their strength had already reached such a level. If they continued to develop, they would not be underestimated. Over the years, it could be said that he knew the D family situation like the back of his hand. How could he not know when such an outstanding group of young people had appeared in the D family? Regardless of whether it was Ling Er or Bailey Hongzhuang, they didn't hold back at all in their attacks. They had long detested these two families to the extreme. Today they had come to settle their grudges. Xiao Yanlong's gaze became even more gloomy when he saw how ruthless and heartless Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were when they attacked. All of you come back. Regardless, Nebula Realm cultivators were already a considerable force to the D family. They couldn't all die at the hands of these people. Chapter 5478. When they realized how powerful Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were, they had long wanted to retreat. The other party's cultivation was clearly not higher than theirs, but their combat strength was actually so shocking. In just a short period of time, more than half of the cultivators had fallen. When the cultivators from the AO clan saw this scene, they couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. It seemed like the news they had heard was true. The young master of the D clan and the others were extremely powerful. They were truly the cream of the crop among the younger generation. No wonder I heard that the Shao clan's young miss and the others were never a match for the Saintess. Now it seems that it was not wrong at all. That's natural. If they could defeat young Master D, the two clan heads wouldn't have to come personally today. Tisk Tsk, young Master D and the others have also fallen today. Who would have thought that the other party would be so excessive? Everyone shook their heads and sighed. Even if Di Beichen and the others won now, as long as the two clan heads were here, the outcome could not be changed. What kind of strength did the two clan heads have? As long as they made a move, Di Beichen and the others would not have the strength to fight back. I have really underestimated you. Xiao Yanlong narrowed his eyes. The reason why he let the Nebula Realm cultivators fight was because he did not want to be labeled as a bully. He never thought that the situation would be somewhat different from what he had expected. The combat strength of these young people was not just a little bit stronger than his own daughters. At this moment he also understood why Xiao Sou would grit her teeth when she mentioned Bailey Hongzhuang. It was because she could not deal with the other party. If you have really underestimated us, you don't have to come personally today. To deal with a few juniors, the Xiao clan still needs to come personally. It seems that your clan is really getting weaker and weaker now. Di Beichen mocked mercilessly. There was no need to give face to such a thick-skinned guy. Di Beichen, how can you be so rude in front of clan head Xiao? Jun Lingshuan immediately stood up and looked angrily at Di Beichen as he berated. This old guy doesn't even care about his own face, yet he still wants me to respect him. Doesn't he know if he's worthy? Di Beichen lazily glanced at Jun Lingshuan. Speaking of which, I really sympathize with you. Back then, you pursued Xiao Sou because of her identity as the Saint of the Light. Now all your efforts are in vain, yet you can't let go. Don't you feel aggrieved? As soon as these words were spoken, when Xiren and the others, who originally had a serious expression on their faces, could not help but laugh. Although they were all aware of this situation, Di Beichen directly said it in front of Xiao Yanlong. This was very interesting. Sure enough, Xiao Yanlong and Xiao Sou's faces immediately turned ashen. The expression of being humiliated but not knowing how to smooth things over was even more interesting in their eyes. Di Beichen, don't talk nonsense. Jun Lingshuan quickly said. There's no need to explain. Everyone here understands. Who doesn't know your purpose in doing that? Di Beichen's expression was calm. Based on Jun Lingshuan's utilitarian heart, it was impossible for him to pursue Xiao Sou because he liked her. Moreover, they were both men. From the way Jun Lingshuan looked at Xiao Sou, they could tell that it was definitely not love but mutual use. It was obviously not a conclusive accusation, but everyone knew that everything Di Beichen said was true. Chapter 5479. Brat, how dare you humiliate my daughter like this? I want you to die. Xiao Yanlong's expression was terrifyingly gloomy. Humiliating his daughter in front of him was no different from humiliating the entire Xiao family. At this moment, Di Beichen gave him a completely different feeling. When he had first met him in the Di family, he had only thought that he was a young and handsome man. Even though his cultivation was not very high, his looks were inherited from Di Yujua. However, at this moment, Di Beichen was no longer as courteous as before. Most importantly, even Xiao Yanlong could not help but be moved by his cold, murderous aura. This man was definitely not a kind person. Once he touches someone he cares about, he would become abnormally vicious. Therefore, Xiao Yanlong wanted to nip this danger in the bud. Otherwise, it would be very dangerous. In the next moment, under the nervous gazes of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Xiao Yanlong's figure flashed and directly attacked Di Beichen. A tyrannical pressure broke out in an instant, and the powerful force made it difficult for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to move under this pressure. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Xiao Yanlong in shock. Even though she had expected Xiao Yanlong to be very powerful, it seemed that they had still underestimated the extent of his power. At the very least, aside from her master and grandmaster, she had not met anyone else who was as powerful as he was before. Of course, this was also because her father had never displayed his power in front of them. She believed that her father's power would not be any weaker than Xiao Yanlong's. Di Beichen. Watch out. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others cried out in horror. Under such a crushing coercion they could not help at all. When Di Beichen saw Xiao Yanlong getting closer and closer, his handsome face turned cold. He forcefully moved his body in an attempt to dodge the attack. At the same time, Jun Lingshuan and Xiao Sou looked pleased with themselves. This was because in the next second, they would be able to see Di Beichen's miserable appearance as his blood splattered everywhere. Bang! A loud sound rang out as elemental energy ripples rapidly spread out. Even the cultivators who were extremely far away could feel the overflowing force, causing their faces to hurt. Thump! Thump! Xiao Yanlong took 2 steps back and appeared in front of Xiao Sou. Immediately afterward, everyone found a tall and straight figure in aqua blue appeared in front of Di Beichen. Xiao Yanlong, after not seeing you for a period of time, I never thought that you would actually become so shameless. You can even do such a thing to a junior. A clear and bright voice slowly rang out. It was as if the sun had cleared up after the rain and scattered into people's hearts, making them feel inexplicably comfortable. However, those who understood him could feel the cold and surging murderous intent in his voice. Father. Di Beichen looked at the tall and straight figure in front of him with a hint of warmth in his eyes. If his father hadn't appeared in time, he would have been seriously injured. After all, the strength of the family head was extremely powerful. It was simply impossible for the younger generation to resist. Diyu Jue? Xiao Yanlong stared in shock at Diyu Jue, who had suddenly appeared. He could not understand why Diyu Jue would appear here today. Jun Hongqing was also shocked when he saw Diyu Jue appear. The information he had received did not say that Diyu Jue would be here today. What had gone wrong? Are you surprised to see me? Diyu Jue looked at Xiao Yanlong indifferently. You dare to attack my son. It looks like you intend to fight to the death with me today. Chapter 5480. Originally, due to their many years of friendship, he had placed more of his target on Jun Hongqing today. He had never thought that he would see such a scene after coming here. Since that was the case, they could only fight to the death. Noticing Diyu Jue's expression, Xiao Yanlong's heart was slightly frightened. He and Diyu Jue had been good friends for so many years, so he knew the latter's temperament very well. Di Beichen was definitely Diyu Jue's reverse scale. Whoever dared to touch him, Diyu Jue would definitely risk his life. Moreover, Diyu Jue's strength was very terrifying. Even he was no match for him. Xiao Yanlong opened his mouth. He, who was originally very arrogant, actually felt a little guilty at this moment. Diyu Jue, don't show off here. Today your son was rude. Brother Xiao was just helping you to teach your son a lesson. Who asked you to not teach him well? Jun Hongqing said lightly. Oh. Diyu Jue raised his eyebrows. So, you're also planning to fight with me today? Don't be too arrogant. Jun Hongqing suddenly became angry. So what if you're here? Do you really think that the Di family strength is so great? If you want to put on airs in front of us, you alone are not enough. If that's the case, how about me too? Suddenly, another figure appeared beside Diyu Jue. It was Di Beichen's grandfather, Lin Wenlan. Seeing that Lin Wenlan had also appeared, Jun Hongqing was also stunned. Then his expression suddenly changed. The appearance of Diyu Jue had already made him suspicious. Now that Lin Wenlan had also appeared, it proved that there was really a problem. Could it be that they had been discovered? Otherwise, the Tsu Ao family would not have needed Diyu Jue and Xiao Yanlong to come here personally. The reason why they were here was probably to deal with him and Xiao Yanlong. Xiao Yanlong's expression also became complicated. Originally, with their strength, killing Di Beichen and the others was undoubtedly easy. However, now that Diyu Jue and Lin Wenlan had arrived, the strength of both sides was almost equal, and the suppression from before no longer existed. Brother Jun, what's going on? Xiao Yanlong couldn't help but ask. Because Jun Hongqing had promised before that there would be a way, he did not pay too much attention to this matter. Could it be that Jun Hongqing was discovered by the Di family when he was inquiring about the news? Was that why Diyu Jue came in person today? I don't know either. Jun Hongqing was a little embarrassed. He had previously guaranteed that nothing would go wrong. Who would have thought that such a variable would appear? However, Brother Xiao, you don't have to worry. Even if they come, they might not be able to threaten us. Xiao Yanlong retracted his gaze in annoyance. Indeed, even if both of them came, they might not necessarily lose. However, if they wanted to make a move against Di Beichen and the others, it would be very difficult. Xiao Sui naturally also realized this point, and her original excitement quietly disappeared. Clenching her fist, she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang hatefully. She did not expect this guy's luck to be so good. Beichen, has the matter of the Ao family been settled? Diyu Jue suddenly asked. Di Beichen shook his head. I originally planned to let Ao Zhengquang and Ao Lingxiao take the truth pill, but I don't know if the Jun family is guilty or what, but they stopped me. Stopped? Diyu Jue sneered. This is the Ao family's matter. What right do they have to stop it? Chapter 5481. Seeing that Diyu Jue was ignoring him, Jun Hongqing's face was extremely cold. Diyu Jue, this is not your Di family. Do you really think you can make decisions here? All these years you have been eyeing my Di family. You want to take everything away. The Ao family used to be a subsidiary of my family. Suddenly it became yours. I have some doubts. Today my son came here to solve this matter. Naturally we have to make things clear. Unless you have a guilty conscience. What do I have to be guilty about? Jun Hongqing sneered. Isn't it because your Di family is incompetent? That's why the Ao family turned to my Jun family. In that case, let's let the Ao family solve their internal affairs first. Then we can solve our grudges. How about it? If you are afraid, The corners of Diujua's lips curled up slightly as flames of fury burned in the depths of his eyes. After all, the Jun family had done too many things to their family in the dark over the years. Today he was going to settle it one by one. I'm just reminding you that the truth pill is a lost pill. It is impossible for it to exist. Even if you want to find a gimmick, you shouldn't be so brainless. Since the Jun family head has agreed, let's start. Diujua said directly. Ao Junquang was embarrassed. He didn't want to put himself in such a situation. However, the four family heads didn't say anything. He could only do as he was told. Ao Lingxiao didn't hesitate to take the truth pill. He trusted Bailey Hongzhuang 100%. Ao Junquang took the pill. He didn't know what kind of pill it was. However, after taking it there was no reaction. He was relieved. What truth pill? He didn't believe it. Could it be that he couldn't control himself after taking it? What a joke. Ao Junquang, you can talk about what happened that day. Looking at Ao Junquang's indifferent face, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up into a playful smile. After consuming the truth pill, he did not feel anything. However, once he opened his mouth, it became very interesting. I killed father and mother. Ao Junquang only felt that he was gradually becoming confused, as if he was in a dream and returned to the original scene. However, the person in front of him was Ao Lingxiao, and he was extremely pleased with himself. But so what? Ao Lingxiao, do you think that you're amazing just because you've won the favor of our parents? I want to steal everything from you so that you will never be able to shine again. I want you to fall into the dust and become an existence that others will despise forever. At the same time, Ao Lingxiao had another round of complaints. I don't understand why you would do such a thing. Father and mother have treated you so well, but you're worse than a beast. Other than the D family and the Lin family, no one present believed that the Truth Pill Association was real. However, after hearing Ao Junquang's first sentence, everyone's expression changed. All the elders of the Ao clan widened their eyes and looked at the malevolent Ao Junquang in front of them in disbelief. How strange was this kind of patriarch to them? When he spoke, his expression was excited and ferocious. It was definitely not a pretense. Contrasting with Ao Lingxiao's innocent expression, everyone felt a huge impact in their hearts. How could this be? All this time we really misunderstood. Chapter 5482. Sinful. Truly sinful. The great elder lamented bitterly. Even after seeing Ao Lingxiao, he had vaguely guessed this possibility. However, when he saw this scene with his own eyes, he still found it hard to accept. All these years, Ao Junquang had disguised himself so well in front of them that they didn't suspect him at all. When he thought of Ao Lingxiao being recognized by everyone as the culprit and running away in a sorry state, he was really heartbroken. Not only did he feel heartbroken for Ao Lingxiao, but he also felt bitterly disappointed for the old family head. His beloved son had done such a thing. He thought that he had given him the best, but he didn't expect Ao Junquang to be so unsatisfied that he did such a thing. Jun Hongcheng and the others couldn't help but be dumbfounded after seeing this scene. They didn't think that the truth pill was real, but how could they explain the situation in front of them? Family head Ao, what nonsense are you talking about? Jun Lingxuan couldn't hold back and rushed in front of Ao Junquang. He was so angry that he was about to die. Was this guy crazy? He actually said such words in front of everyone. How was he going to deal with this later? After seeing Jun Lingxuan appear, Ao Junquang's face revealed a happy smile. Young Master Jun, I did everything according to your instructions. Now that Ao Lingxiao is back, you must help me kill him. This kid is a scourge. Now that he has the support of the D family, I don't know what he will do. You can't burn the bridge after crossing the river. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes turned to Jun Lingxuan. Oh my god, what happened back then was actually incited by young Master Jun. No wonder the family head deliberately alienated the D family and got closer to the Jun family. So this is the reason. Oh my god, this is too despicable. The cultivators of the Ao family glared at Jun Lingxuan. Who would have thought that Jun Lingxuan, who was usually like a gentleman, would be so evil behind their backs? All the elders were also angry. They didn't understand why Ao Junquang would do such a thing. At this moment they finally understood. Diu Jue and the others were extremely shocked when they saw the effect of the truth pill. Before this, they didn't hear that Hong Zhuang had such a trump card. The effect was really amazing. Lin Wenlan and Diu Jue looked at each other. Hong Zhuang's ability in alchemy was really amazing. No one in the younger generation could compare to her. Junhong Cheng, I didn't expect you to be so despicable. You even affected your son. The student has surpassed the master. The merciless mockery caused Jun Hongqing's face to turn ashen. He clearly felt that everyone's gazes towards him were completely different from before. It was as if he was some heinous fellow, and they were filled with fear and disgust. Xiao Yanlong was also surprised by this point. Before this, he really didn't know about this. In the past, he didn't have any impression of the Ao family. He only heard about it after such a tragedy happened in the Ao family. At that time, he was extremely disdainful. He didn't expect that the initiator of all this was the Jun family. In order to strengthen the family, they used some special methods. He could understand, but these methods were too shocking. Chapter 5483. Jun Lingshuan couldn't help but be dumbfounded after seeing the situation. He didn't expect the effect of the truth pill to be so terrifying. Ao Zhengquang couldn't control himself at all and blurted out these words in front of everyone. Most importantly, it was one thing for him to get himself into the water, but he had to drag him in as well. Pa! Jun Lingshuan directly slapped Ao Zhengquang's face. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I won't be polite to you. Ao Zhengquang was stunned by Jun Lingshuan's slap. He stared blankly at Jun Lingshuan, but his expression quickly changed. Young Master Jun, how can you treat me like this? I've been following your orders for everything. Now that I'm in trouble, you're ignoring me. Have you forgotten how much I've done for you over the years? Everyone looked at Jun Lingshuan with complicated gazes. They really didn't expect that he, who was so glamorous, would actually do so many shady things behind the scenes. I didn't expect the young master of the Jun family to be such a person. He's too despicable. For a moment, everyone in the Ao family couldn't control their emotions. Judging from the situation, if the Jun family didn't come up with this idea, Ao Zhengquang wouldn't have done such a thing. In this way, this tragedy could have been avoided. It was only because the Jun family saw the relationship between them and the D family that they chose to use this method to drive a wedge between them. As long as there's a little bit of conscience, it's impossible to think of such a beastly thing. This is too much. Even if he knew that the Jun family was an unshakable behemoth for the Ao family, the great elder still glared at them. His eyes were filled with tears of blood, and he couldn't wait to rush up and fight with them. I already knew that the Jun family was despicable, but now it seems that I still underestimated the extent of their despicableness. This is simply a group of crazy people. The second elder's eyes were burning with anger. This surging anger almost ignited his blood. His eyes quickly became bloodshot, and the veins on his forehead popped out. He never thought that the truth of the matter would be like this. In the past few years, they treated the Jun family as good people and did their best to do things for them. Now that he thought about it, they were really stupid to the extreme. If the old master and his wife knew about this in the underworld, they would definitely be heartbroken. Not only that, but they had also chased Ao Lingxiao out of the clan and had almost killed him back then. Fortunately, everything could still be salvaged. Otherwise, even if they died, they would not have the face to face the old clan head. Junhong Cheng's face was gloomy to the extreme in the face of everyone's accusations. He never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would actually have such a method to make Ao Zhengquang say such words in front of everyone. It was one thing for him to know about it, but to say it out loud would be too embarrassing. Jun Lingshuan looked at Ao Zhengquang, who kept talking about what he had done. He really wanted to reach out and strangle him. In fact, he had done so. He did not know how to make Ao Zhengquang shut up, so he could only use this method to make him unable to speak again. However, just as Jun Lingshuan was about to make a move, suddenly a chi flashed and forced him back. He raised his head and found that the person who made the move was Diyu Jue. Chapter 5484. Jun Hongcheng's face was ashen. Facing Diyu Jue's accusation, he could only stare coldly at him. In fact, as long as the people present were not idiots, they would know that everything Ao Zhengquang said was true. Compared to the conspiracy here, Ao Lingxiao was in a much more difficult situation. From the beginning to the end, he was the one who had suffered the most. This was because he had seen his brother kill his parents with his own eyes. However, his brother had framed him for all of this and was even hunted down by the entire clan. If it was an ordinary person, they would have collapsed long ago. Everyone in the Ao family could not help but feel grateful to the D family. Back then, they had alienated the D family, but the D family had not been calculative with them. On the contrary, the D family had helped Ao Lingxiao return. They were really magnanimous, If it had not been for the D family's protection, Ao Lingxiao would have been dead by now. Now the truth is finally out. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. During this period of time, she had not spread the news because she knew that there was a spy in the family. She did not want to spread the news and let the other party be prepared. However, she also knew that Ao Lingxiao had been very distressed because of this and did not know how to reveal the truth to the world. At this moment, all of this had finally been achieved. She was happy for Ao Lingxiao. Because from now on, Ao Lingxiao could finally hold his head high and no longer have to endure the hateful gazes of others. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Jun Lingxuan turned his hateful gaze towards her. Bailey Hongzhuang, what did you feed Ao Zhengquang? The truth pill. I think I've made it very clear. This is definitely not some truth pill. You must have used some kind of sorcery to make Ao Zhengquang say such delirious words. Jun Lingxuan roared. He knew very well that if this news were to spread, it would have a huge impact on the Jun family. Today they were here to teach Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. Who would have thought that his entire clan would be dragged into this mess? He was absolutely unable to accept such an outcome. Hearing Jun Lingxuan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. I'm the Saintess of Light. Are you sure you want to say that? Do you want me to use the power of light to prove that everything I said is true? A confident and perfect smile appeared on her peerlessly exquisite face. Back then in the immortal cloud secret realm, she already knew of this method. Once she made an oath, everyone would naturally believe her. Jun Lingxuan naturally thought of this as well. His face immediately turned red, turning into the color of pig liver. Since you're the Saintess of the Light now, who knows if you have other methods? Xiao Shou said coldly. She was unable to accept the sudden change in the situation. But no matter what, she was not willing to let Bailey Hongzhuang continue to be so arrogant. If you don't believe me, you can try. Bailey Hongzhuang held up the white porcelain bottle in her hand and looked at Xiao Shou with a smile that did not look like a smile. Xiao Shou was slightly startled and immediately fell into silence. After seeing Ao Zhengquang take the pill, how could she still dare to take the pill? If she were to accidentally say something that she should not say, she would be done for. She did not want to be a disgrace like Ao Zhengquang. However, Xiao Shou's retreat seemed to have a deeper meaning in everyone's eyes. Chapter 5485. Junhong Qing and Xiao Yanlong looked at each other. Both of their faces were gloomy. They did not expect the situation to develop in this direction. This was originally a matter without any evidence, but it had become irrefutable evidence. During this period of time, the more they said, the more mistakes they would make. It was better to just remain silent. At the very least, it was impossible for them to make a comeback at this point. Junhong Qing quietly glanced around. A plan was already forming in his mind. He could not let this news spread and affect the family's reputation, so the only way was to kill all the people who could spread the news. Although the Di family and the Lin family had many people here today, it seemed that their numbers were still not as many as theirs. If they really fought, as long as they could get rid of Di Yujue and Lin Wenlan, the others would not be a concern. As for the Ao family, it was just a small family. They could just kill it directly. At this point, the Ao family was doomed. They could not use them. Instead of letting them rely on the Di family, it was better to get rid of them completely and save them the trouble. After Ao Zhengquang spilled out all the beans that had happened at that time, his eyes suddenly regained clarity. Only then did he clearly see the environment in front of him. As his memory gradually recovered, Ao Zhengquang realized that he was in such an environment. Young Master Jun, what happened? Ao Zhengquang could not help but ask. However, the only answer he got was Jun Lingxuan's cold and murderous gaze. If he could, he really wanted to kill this guy who could not do anything but ruin everything. Then he would not be in such an awkward situation now. Noticing Jun Lingxuan's terrifying gaze, Ao Zhengquang's body trembled slightly. He then looked around. However, when he noticed that everyone in the Ao family was glaring at him, he had a bad feeling in his heart. His body could not help but tremble. His scalp was numb. He did not dare to imagine what had just happened. Just as Ao Zhengquang regained his consciousness, Ao Lingxiao also regained his consciousness. He looked nervously at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. He looked a little confused, not knowing what had just happened. Beichen, what did I just say? A warm smile appeared on Di Beichen's face. You can ask your family elders. Hearing this, Ao Lingxiao was slightly stunned, and the confusion on his face became even more intense. He turned his head to look at the various elders. He originally thought that he would still see their gazes filled with disgust, but he did not expect to see tears in their eyes as they looked at him with extreme guilt. "Young master, it's all because of our foolishness," the great elder lamented, tears already flowing down from the corners of his eyes. The elders rushed to Ao Lingxiao's side almost immediately. As elders, they felt extremely guilty in their hearts at this moment. "I didn't expect us to be so muddle-headed. We actually wronged you like this. Fortunately, you were able to return safely. Otherwise, it would be useless even if we were to die to atone for our sins." The second elder held Ao Lingxiao's hands and carefully sized him up. "Look, you have lost so much weight compared to before. Fortunately, you came back safely and gave us a chance to make up for it." Chapter 5486. Looking at the elders swarming up and listening to their words full of concern, Ao Lingxiao was a little stunned. He still didn't understand why the elders' attitudes changed so much in such a short time. Was the effect of the truth pill really so powerful? However, this long-awaited warmth really made him feel incomparably happy. In the beginning, the elders treated him so lovingly. However, after that incident, their attitudes completely changed. All these years, he had been hiding everywhere and living a miserable life. This kind of warmth was what he longed for the most. Compared to Ao Lingxiao's joy at the moment, Ao Zhengquang's face was extremely pale. Even if he didn't know what he had just said, he could guess a little from everyone's reaction. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but feel scared. The crime of killing his parents was not something he could bear. In this way, his life was completely over. "Young master, we wronged you. We are really sorry. What happened back then was too sudden. It was not your fault. Elders, you don't have to take it to heart." Ao Lingxiao's face bloomed with a bright smile for the first time. Ever since that incident, he had never been so relieved. For him, as long as he could prove everything, it was enough. He didn't resent any of the elders because he understood that the elders wanted to avenge their parents. However, in the face of Ao Lingxiao's generosity, the elders were even more ashamed. That's right. How could they forget that the young master was such a kind-hearted person? However, they were obsessed and believed that he would do such a thing. The third elder and the other elders who had a good relationship with Ao Zhengquang also changed their stance at this moment. In the face of major issues, they also had their own judgment. What's more, Ao Zhengquang obviously couldn't make a comeback this time. If they didn't change their stance, it was tantamount to courting death. The eldest young master has been clamoring to be punished by the family law. Now, the one who really needs to be punished by the family law is you. The third elder looked at Ao Zhengquang angrily. His face was full of righteousness as if he wasn't the one who colluded with Ao Zhengquang before. Killing one's parents and framing others. Such crimes are intolerable. They must be punished according to the family rules. The great elder's face also became cold. Even if Ao Zhengquang was the young master of the family, after doing such a thing, he must be killed as a warning to others. Ao Lingxiao didn't say anything. From the day Ao Zhengquang killed his parents, the relationship between them had already been broken. He was no longer his brother. Noticing that everyone was itching to peel off his skin and pull out his tendons, Ao Zhengquang's face was also overwhelmed with shock. He hurriedly knelt in front of Jun Lingxuan and said nervously, "Young Master Jun, you must save me. I don't want to die, please save me." However, Jun Lingxuan only glanced at Ao Zhengquang coldly and lifted his leg to kick him away. "You damned bastard, get the hell away from me." Jun Lingxuan didn't want to bother with such an idiot. He really didn't understand why he asked him for help in the first place. Ao Zhengquang's face turned pale and cold sweat dripped down. The clothes on his back were instantly soaked with cold sweat. Despair and fear shrouded him, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.